Krishna Krishna Hare Hare.
So playfully we were saying, I've started this juice diet now, and I intend to keep it going for a while. And it was asked, oh yes, we'd love to fast with you. Some people say like that, love to fast with you. But amongst them are even some skinny people. I thought, well, you don't have to fast with me. Or I will give you a certain kind of fast or something. Different kind of fast. I need this type of fasting for my body. But maybe you can fast from your vasana for a month. You see? And so what I thought about is, like, for instance, also one very good thing that most people could do is, instead of saying things like, I'm so agitated today, or whatever people say like this, but more change the way that you, even just the language of saying, I am agitated, to some agitation is coming up in me, is very big difference actually, because the I am itself is not a person. The I am itself is consciousness actually. Yeah? And the conditioning that we absorb, when the consciousness is identified with the body and conditioning, then it believes itself to be just merely a person. And so thereafter, all its interactions with other persons or become other person or personal. And this is already a severe limitation and a distortion of what the truth is, you see. And because everybody now do it, internationally we all speak, I am so sick, I am so tired, I am this and so on. And it seems innocent enough, because nobody challenges you to say things like that, you see. But I feel that when you say I am agitated, the I am is never agitated. But when you send this message, I am agitated inside, it creates some disturbance, because then you have somehow limited your space, the natural space of being. Gets contaminated with this feeling, I am is agitated, because that's what it means. In fact, I am is agitated, but it is not agitated. The sense of agitation is like waves or something that may come inside, or I am sick, or I'm so sick of this and so on. It is so glibly or casually used. So if there was something to fast on, it would be to that. Say for the next, say, even try it for 1 week. Whenever you find that natural response come, like, I am, in the expressions I've just used are examples. I don't, yeah? To really stop for a moment and reflect and say, is that true? It's not the I, the true I doesn't want. It's because of this habit of feeling I am agitated, why something has to push it back into the person and make it be the person who say I am agitated. Because the I am cannot be agitated. It is a weakness of the sense of agitation, but itself is beyond all those, the effects of the play of interrelated opposites. So if you could do that and be aware of this and find a new way of expressing that, if it needs to be expressed at all. You see, I'm so tired of this. No, this tiredness is now arising. So it's not the I am that is tired. And that really makes a change. It's not just a sort of semantics play, but it really is the way in which you somehow bring a kind of claustrophobia into your being by doing that. So this is just something arising for the moment, and it will come and go. I will still be here. So I cannot be agitated. Sometimes it may seem, but it's such a small thing to make a change about. It's an enormous thing. It's an enormous thing to be making a mistake about. Because every day, almost behind every expression that we seem to think that we do, or think or act in some way, the seat of it is the feeling I. You try and think of anything that you want to say without I, and you'll see how often your I is involved in the statements you make and the things that you do and the reports that you make. And when you say I, it is indicative of consciousness, not of person, actually. You see? And even when you're speaking with people who are not so familiar with this type of talk, I don't think they will find it so, it might be quite illuminating for them also. If you see people say, oh, you look very tired, he says, no, I'm not tired. I mean, some tiredness come and go, you know. It's not what I am. They can kind of, okay, if they are a bit sort of like switched on, they would say, hey, you know what? I never thought of it like that. But it leaves some lot more free space. If I say I am that, you know, you see, it's like somebody telling you, you are that. You don't like it when someone say you are that, but you quite yourself say I am that. You see? So if there can be a consciousness about that, and you know, you feel that the reflex and the conditioning is just to say this, but then something now will stop you a little bit, and you check in again and just say, this is not really true. This is just a visitor. It comes and goes, and it is watched inside my own awareness self.
Maybe we can allow each other to just remind each other if someone...
Yes, it changes the inner climate and orientation so much. And then I would like you to report in a week if it makes any difference to you. That would be a good fasting. That would be a good fasting. But I did think at one point if each one was honest enough to come and say, listen, this is my vasana actually. Is that, and name it. And then I say, okay, I put you down. I put you down for 2 weeks, okay? Starting from.
I think others see people vasana more clearly.
Well, this is true. This is true. This
and
is
we
true.
could get a list from everybody else. And we choose the top 10, would you?
It is said that the ego cannot smell its own breath. But the one who is somehow free from egoic concern or self-defense easily detect what is not in service to the truth much more. Because obviously if you identify I am this thing, then there's a kind of vulnerability there, and you will shelter it. We will defend it, you know, because you have included it in your kingdom, becomes part of your house. But when you see it, but this is still appearing, and it's not really welcomed here. Why should I be sheltering the devil?
Mooji,
Yeah.
can I just say what mine is at the moment so everybody can help me stop? At least for 1 week, fasting from complaining and fault finding.
Yes. This is very good. From complaining or finding fault. This is like a vasana that's been just expressed. Very common one. So, you know, as from this day, for a week, you'll be bringing more light, more self-awareness to that. And of course, why is it a vasana? Because it is a challenge to overcome it. Because the tendency seems to be established, and more or less we just put up with it, or we carry on with that. So like this, I think is very good, a very honorable thing, and there's a great power in exposing things that we seem to feel insecure about, and just bring it into the light of openness, and we can put you down for a week. It's good that we can expose these things and just bring some mindfulness to this, and it's going to make a huge difference. The first one I spoke about, I think it's very, very good. to watch this feeling of the I, or how quickly we combine I, which is the sort of witnessing consciousness, to an activity, a self-label, and make it personal, which it is not doing it. And also to bring up and to admit, yeah, I'm having trouble with this thing, and I keep doing this, and I see, I keep doing this again. It goes back to the first one. This tendency keeps arising in me, and something goes for it as sort of identity, and what I am gets lost in that, and then I'm confused. Even to speak this language, which is more authentic, more true, that I'm the witness of this, feels like that's an effort, because it's more easy just to say, but I did it, man. You see, so you can keep on, and this is how we carry on somehow with this, or how these habits, they carry on. So it is a bit of an exercise. It takes a little effort in the beginning, but it bears very sweet fruits, and immediately also you're feeling the kind of spaciousness, like you're not left with a heavy sense of guilt or something. Oh, I did this thing bad again. But that this tendency comes up, and something seems to identify with it, and then it feels like it's like so heavy.
Yeah, I feel what I see is there is some tendency to, I don't know how to call it, like put out fires. Like something is uncomfortable with maybe not being seen right, or not, or what it perceives itself not being perceived right, or if something is going on, like to always kind of let's say there is an argument, and to always say, okay, he didn't mean it, or she didn't mean it, and this is
To try and pacify
to
prematurely.
pacify things. And I just feel like there is so much space that somehow after that happens, I see that it doesn't happen, like it's something fierce and smelly about it. Like it really is not true with that. Like it's just automatic instead of conscious or something like this. And it has to do with this idea of how you perceive people, and how the ideas of the mind of how it is perceived.
And sometimes that can also have something to do with that something feels unbearable for you. To let something burn itself out, exhaust itself, feels like, oh, that's just too painful to watch, or something like that. And it used to be more also, I could, as you speak like this, to speak for myself, I also grew up very much, to see like someone who is doing something wrong being caught and cornered. It was all, oh my God, it's so painful. Because they're really going to get it now. They're going to get cooked. You see? Because something has been exposed, something is not true, and they're being confronted about it. And it's not apologetically. It's like, you got no, because then I noticed that I was, in order to save the discomfort, then I would give them the benefit of the doubt, which you don't really. You see, you sort of let them off. You say, okay, they say, yeah, but I didn't really mean to. Okay, well, next time, just be careful. But really, you want to say, you little rat, you did it. That you couldn't get yourself to say something like that. You see? So when I saw that was really being expressed, then something used to be really, there's a feeling of, it's like painful to watch someone being caught, and that they had no excuse. They could not, like they had no place to hide. That is. So gradually something opened up to that and said, but it's a good thing to be caught where you run out of excuse. Your excuse don't work. Somebody caught you with your hand in the till, and you're just saying, well, I was just doing my nail polish, and it just opened, and you say, no, you were stealing something. No, how could you say that? No, but you were. To see that clear light of honesty, and someone being caught, and that was sort of like so painful, you see. So that is something that I felt when I heard you, that to have it expose something that sometimes you just have to let something burn itself out. That what you imagine is going to be like unbearable turned out to be actually, it turned out good in the end, because the person needed to be caught in order to put a stop to that type of activity or something. You know, so sometimes to let it play out is very good. So if you want to fast with me, something, you can take up a kind of fast like that, and we can write it down, and then write it down the date, and when you check in again, and what have you noticed since? Give some feedback.
How much weight loss have you lost?
Yeah, how much? Yeah.
How many kilos have you lost?
How many kilos of egoic concepts? How much space you
I
regain?
can report, since I heard you say many times, who is speaking is, and so I do it a while. And one of the effects is that when I say I, that there is immediately awareness about that I, and it feels, when it comes out my mouth, and even it's shorter the way in my head already, when it comes, then
It's
stop
very
already.
good. It is very good, because this hammering at the I feeling, because so often we are speaking always on the basis of I did this and I thought this and when I went there this thing happened and I, and no one seems to stop it. So here, not every time, because it would be so frustrating every time you have to, which I are you using? But sometimes after a while it builds up a certain amount of noisiness and smelliness, or you may use I, say 15 times in a minute or 2 minutes or something, and for the most part you let it flow. But at a certain point it just too much. He says, stop for a moment. When you say this, what are you representing when you say I in this context? What do you mean? Who is the I by that? But it's not just willy-nilly. You have to be a bit intuitive and to sense that this is an appropriate moment. It comes this moment. And when you're checked in like that and confronted like that, where you have to somehow slow down and replay what you have said, and then you have to somehow come to an awareness of this, then this is going to help in other exchanges. Something here reminds you, but again, when you say I, or you start to be aware when others are speaking, how often their I is rooted in egoic references. And then you reflect back, but my gosh, it is also occurring here. So this thing that you just mentioned now, it's such a good exercise, because here we don't just accept when you say I, and then it becomes such a noise. When there's a noisy I. Noisy I means that which is carrying a lot of history, a context of personhood, likes and dislikes, then judgments come, then frustrations, and then all of this very sticky use of concepts. Then we have to be able to challenge these conversations and say, please stop, because this is we have heard in London now, so now you can be fined, or you may even lose your home if you cause too much noise pollution in London. If you make too much, one time we didn't have that, but then after a while it's too much. They say you can go to court for noise pollution. And now you also come to court for concept pollution. Too much eye pollution. Too much eye pollution. Then you make the whole place smelly, make people very unhappy. Then you become more aware. And then like this, we outgrow these tendencies, and you'll be surprised at how quickly things change. And a whole smelly room becomes something very fragrant, like an open field. It's very beautiful, like that. So this habit, wild habit, unchecked habit, yes, but I like this, and it is not excusable once you have come into the ashram of your being. And you come into the ashram of your being, then these things cannot be overlooked anymore, because they're at the very root of a lot of self-deception, at the very root. So you cannot be working on other things when the primary thing, which is really that which you should give most attention to, is overlooked.
like the biggest vasana is the belief that I am a person. This hard thought. And I feel like it goes along with what you're saying. And I feel like rather than looking at the little things, that just to conquer the whole thing is to keep checking in, which is actually already happening naturally. Like in every moment that something doesn't feel true, and you just know, then there's a checking in, like who is this one?
Yeah.
And this I feel is, I'm disappearing. The one who I thought I was is disappearing.
It has to be. Because if it doesn't, then what the hell is any spiritual sadhana about? If you're only just parroting things and it doesn't lead to a change in the orientation of your thinking. So many people are just parroting these things. But what does it mean if it doesn't amount to a disappearing of that old regime of thinking? It has to be thinning out. So when one checks in, like, the sense of I, and it is looked into, probed into it, little substance is there, and it is thinning away, moment by moment, it's thinning away. Because the thing is that I can hide behind so many stones. You see? Of all the letters in the alphabet, I is the slimmest one. And still something is hiding behind this I itself. The biggest thing, isn't it? So it can only be exposed really through that earnestness, I would say, that urge, a real sense of determination to be free of it. Because, why? Because you see the fruits of this egoic identity, what rotten fruits it bears. Because it does bear fruit, but not tasty ones. And for a while, it has been unavoidable that we somehow identify in that egoic state for a time, but gradually somehow the consciousness must wake up from that sleep of identity, of such limited identity. Because it can go on, and it can hide behind, something can be hiding behind, even the thinnest thing it's hiding behind. And yet it causes so much trouble. This is why constantly pointing again, when you say I, what are you referring to now? And if you're honest, you're checking, it's actually, it's a person again. And again now, and it's my body mind again. And this thing again, it's my arrogance here again. You see, until eventually you get sick of yourself. You see, at a certain point you just get tired of this very rancid identity, and something just, a shift takes place internally, and you cannot go back to that anymore. It's just like old shoes that you've outgrown. One time you used to wear, size 2 shoes. Then when you go to size 3, you cannot wear size 2 shoes again. And when you go to size 5 foot, you cannot go to size 3 shoes again. So something is outgrowing itself all the time. So as it happens outwardly, it must also happen inwardly also. Where the consciousness is identified with limitation, it must outgrow that. And it has been put in front of you the most direct way, the most direct mirror actually. Who am I? Because every sentence has I behind it. This is what I think, this is what I did. I used to meditate. I am a Christian, I'm a Muslim, I am this. I don't like that. I disagree. I agree. This is my philosophy. This is my this I. What is I that has such confidence? You see? And each time as you slow down enough just to take a look, you start to see, that it is not truthful. It's not truthful. It is not truth. And would you want to, once you've slowed down and look, would you want to continue identifying with that fox? Then you see, no, actually. It's not true to me. Now, who is the me now, you see? Then you see that it has no history. That which exposes the unreal itself is without history. Then one finds, but that must be the seat of I itself. That is the true seat of I itself. And it's been falsely being put into a lot of different masks. So therefore, it's why I say always keep looking under the kilt of I. See, what is your I wearing today? You see? And then somehow like this, you bring that consciousness, that self-awareness becomes alive, and everything changed so quickly. But if it's not looked at, everything seems to remain the same for so long. Because throughout a day or a week, how many times, thousands of times, we are saying I. Thousands of times. Nobody's counting, but it must be thousands of times. I went there. What do you think? Yes, I'll come back in a minute. And it's the most persistent habit, and nobody looks into it. Nobody is looking into it at all. That if the root perceiver is itself a contamination, then everything that is arising for it becomes contaminated. Therefore, I say, you can begin in the simple way that I've pointed out. Recognize these things are coming up, but they're not what I am. When you say, I am frustrated, you turn your I am into frustration. You see? And something at a deeper level knows this is not right, something is not true here. But what choice have I got? You see? So like this is already a good start. So that's it.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna